Okay, great. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Long Island Women in Tech's Lunch and Learn series. I'm your host, Jean Hannon. Today, we're all very excited to welcome Kasey Weidman. Kasey's a portfolio manager at WW, formerly Weight Watchers. In their global strategic operations team, they manage all of the cross-functional global strategic initiatives. And Kasey and I have been speaking on many topics, so it was tough to narrow down today's discussion. Should you have any questions really relating to anything process improvement and operational effectiveness, we can always talk about that. Today, we're going to focus on the tool Smartsheet. Kasey loves Smartsheet, and by the end of this, you will too. We're going to have everyone on mute just to keep background noises to a minimum. But feel free to either enter a question at any time in the chat area or unmute yourself, because we really do want this to be an interactive dialogue. So, and this will all be in the chat because folks will join late as their time opens up. But without further ado, I'm going to find Kasey and unmute.
I already unmuted myself. You're good to go.
Oh, wonderful. All right, take it away, Kasey.
All right, let me just pull up my screen here and I will drive. So first of all, thank you very much for inviting me to speak with everybody today. I am, as Jean said, Kasey Weidman. I am an operations manager for the Global Strategic Operations Group, which is a relatively new team at WW. We started about a year ago, so it's interesting. It's very exciting, and we do work with every square inch of the organization, so it's very very cool in that aspect. So today, I'm just going to run you through a little bit about what to expect. I'll tell you a little bit more about me, a few disclaimers before we get started, demo, where to start, and some tips and tricks. So I had to put my new headshot in because I just got it done and I was super proud of it. Yeah, I know, right? So I do look better on camera. I have been at WW for 6.5 years. I started in the field actually part-time as a leader back when we were called leaders. Through a series of very fortunate events, my skill set matched some needs. So I moved up to corporate HR doing field recruiting. And then I went knocking on the right door and I ended up working in what was the PMO at the time, and now we're called Global Strategic Operations. Prior to that, I was in high tech, finance, I did some government consulting, really a little bit of everything. I'm a multi-purpose player. So in terms of Smartsheet, I have been using it just about a year. I fell into it randomly when I Googled project management software, and I fell in love almost instantly. So I am super excited to be sharing it with everybody today. So a couple disclaimers. Like I said, I am a super fan, but I do not work for Smartsheet, and I'm not compensated in any way. So I'm just an advocate. I just want to get that out there. And the tool that I'm going to be showing for the demo is an enterprise system. So it may look a little different if you're a Smartsheet user than what you're used to, just because we do have an enterprise account at WW. So with that, I would like to know who I've got on the line here, just so I can help tailor the conversation a little bit. So if you could just go ahead and throw up in the chat what field or industry that you work in or that you might be interested in using the tool for, and what your level of familiarity is with Smartsheet, if at all. And if you say I'm super user, I love it, give me a couple of use cases of how you apply it in your life.
Great. So we have a few folks that are definitely new. Sandra hasn't heard of Smartsheet. Karen's new to Smartsheet. Nicole is a Clarity and Microsoft project user, but new to Smartsheet. Another new to Smartsheet with Carla. Leanne is not familiar. Stefana hasn't heard of Smartsheet. So I'm going to say that we definitely are not at the super user level like yourself here, Kasey.
Okay.
And we've got folks who are working in DevOps, in marketing and tech. and business consulting, technology, new to Smartsheet, IT database software, financial services, e-commerce, marketing, design. Started using Smartsheet a few months ago, Jackie.
All right, great. It sounds like we have a pretty
New
good
to Smartsheet,
everybody. Yep. That's good. I will start with the value prop. So what is Smartsheet exactly? According to them, on their website, Smartsheet platform allows you to collaborate, manage, and report on work in real time, automate workflows, and deploy new processes at scale. Smartsheet is more than a productivity or task app. It's the end-to-end work execution platform with the proven power to help your organization achieve more. To me, Smartsheet really is a build anything tool. If you have data, information, anything you want to collect, store, organize, manipulate, analyze, visualize, share, whatever, Smartsheet is really a one-stop shop. I kind of think it's like Legos for grown-ups. I'm nerd out at the opportunity to build something new. And I will revel in my nerdiness, so feel free to call me on that at any point. Some people see Smartsheet and at the front, it looks like a spreadsheet and they think, okay, it's a spreadsheet, great. And I have gotten more than once somebody asked me, well, why wouldn't I just use Excel or Google Sheets? Well, it could be used as a basic spreadsheet, but it can do so much more that you would be wasting a really awesome tool if you were just using it that way. So my plan today is to show you some of the ways in which I have applied it within our world. I'll try to stay as basic as possible since I have a lot of newbies on the line. And I will say that I did kind of make a generic demo tool here. So feel free if anything doesn't match, and I have a lot of, just filler in here. So if anything, the dates look funky or something, it's just because this is a demo site. But so with that, I will get started. And hopefully my link works like I planned it to. There it is. All right.
And I think the what it is section that you just went over, because it is so broad in scope, it's a lot to take in. So I think the demo is really going to help myself and probably the folks on the Zoom to come up with questions and discuss applicable use cases.
Okay, awesome. So what you're looking at here is what we call a sheet. A sheet is the underlying home for everything, and that sheet will then be used to drive reports, dashboards, charts, things of that variety. So like I said, when you open it up, it's like, okay, it kind of looks like a spreadsheet, and in reality, it kind of is. But it can do a lot more. So this demo that I designed is a project plan. So if you have any sort of project managers on the phone, some of this should look familiar to you, your duration, your percent complete, assigning tasks to people, things like that. So what can it do that a spreadsheet can't do? So one of the things that my team uses to drive accountability and save time, not just having meetings for the sake of meetings, is automation. So I want to show you a little bit about what automation can do. And I figured the best way to do this is to just drive, and Jean, feel free to hop in if anybody has a question. I'm not watching the chat box, I will say that. Feel free to hop in if anybody has a question or if I'm going too fast.
Sure. There is one thing you talked about, the benefit of Smartsheet over a spreadsheet. There's going to be, you'll during your discussion also just kind of show how it will also highlight critical paths, right, Kasey?
I can do that.
Because I know that capability. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. So automation. We can use automation to send reminders or ask for updates, get approvals. It even integrates with Slack if your organization uses Slack. And this is a great way to keep all of the work related to a particular project, initiative, whatever, in one home, rather than having to hop to an email and write an email saying, hey, can you update me on such and such? or putting a calendar invite saying, hey, don't forget your project is due on whatever date. It can be automated, which is fantastic. So I am going to go ahead and just show you how really simple this is, and how it can help drive engagement among users. One thing that I have found with Smartsheet is when you, or just with anything really, is when you ask one of your partners to use a new tool, the response is, oh, I don't want to have to learn one more thing. I don't want to have to log into one more thing. I don't want to have to go one more place. And I get it, like everybody's busy. We're comfortable using the tools we are. So the beauty of this automation is that it will send a trigger directly to their email that they can interact with through any web browser without having to log in, go anywhere, do anything extra. And it's 2 seconds. And that right alone, the user friendliness of it is a huge win to people who don't know what Smartsheet is and quite frankly don't want to try to learn something new to help with the process. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to set up an update request. And I am going to make this date bound. So I want to ask people when their element is due, how it's going. So I'm going to request an update. What I did up here was I told it what date field. If you remember in the background, we had the due date on the thing. I am going to request an update from someone. And I can either send it to specific people. Maybe you want to set up some sort of an update, a reminder so that it pings you regularly. That's fine. But I want to send it to the contacts in a cell. So I am going to send it to the folks in the assigned to box. You get this little error message right here. It's not really an error, but another beauty of this is, and we'll talk about user types in a little bit, but people don't have to be within your organization or even with the existing Smartsheet user to get these update requests or reminders. You can change your permission settings to allow whoever you're sending it to get access to it, which is great. So I am going to customize my message, and one tip that I want to offer is if you don't customize your message, if you just leave it as it is and you hit save, it'll be fine. It'll send an automated thing and say update request for, please enter here. However, I have found that to increase adoption, if you customize the message, it really helps the recipient understand what it is they're getting and how to respond to it, and makes it a little bit more user-friendly on their end. So I might say update request for, and then this is another trick, anything that you have in your sheet as a column, you can reference in these custom automations. So I can say, let's see. So I know that's my contact column. So I might say update request for Joe Smith or whoever my update is. Please provide an update as soon as possible. Always remember to sign it thank you, because that makes people feel better. Thank you. Okay. So what do you want an update on? Well, you can narrow down, because you don't want to send them every single thing in your sheet, because you really only want them to interact with some of it. So you might say, I want them to update, maybe their due date has changed, so I want to let them update that. I want to give them a box to complete, say that it's done, a checkbox, and I want them to be able to comment on it. Okay, and then we hit save. Whoop. Oh, I almost forgot. This conditions allows you to, so we want to say if completed is not checked, because if they're already done and they've already checked completed, then we don't need to send them a reminder ping. So we'll do that. All right, and that's all ready to go. So basically, whenever a due date comes up, it will ping somebody and ask for them to give you a status update. So you don't have to chase people down in the hallway. You don't have to set up a meeting to, say what's the status, or you're almost done. Yeah, that's automation. Does anybody have any questions about that?
I do, Kasey. You just set that for the entire sheet. So as new tasks get added, that workflow will run when a due date is approaching.
Correct. Yep.
Great. Anybody else have any questions? Okay, so this is a question for those folks working more in Scrum and Agile environments. The project itself looks like a waterfall. It's a very traditional project plan. So if it was a Scrum and Agile project, Kasey, do you have any comments on how automation could be leveraged? And Stefana, are you thinking there about you're managing more a to-do, doing, and done list? And can we set up automation to those?
Yeah, so just an example, I used Trello today, and it's useful because I could set up automation to remind people of things, and Trello does it automatically, and it does integrate with Slack. I don't know the benefits of this tool versus Trello, right? So that's what I'm trying to get towards. In Trello, I have a to-do list, and anyone can take any of the tasks. We have a other list in there that's right next to do is this must be done this week type of list. So that allows the project manager to move stuff and assign things and know what has to get assigned right away. There's a little discrepancy there because sometimes we're working in agile fall, I guess you could say, where we have a due date and we need all of these things done, and we can't really say, oh, we'll let it ride, and oh, things can fall out and that's okay. So we're kind of in the middle, I guess you could say. And that's the challenge I'm seeing is we do schedule things on a week by week basis. We do kind of manage tasks in that way, but we also have an end due date. So things have to move quicker than an agile that will be very easygoing, and we backlog room every week and may decide not to do something. Sorry, so that was a little long-winded. I was wondering if you've run agile projects through this tool before.
So I have not. I am not trained in Agile. My team typically works in waterfall. However, the beauty of this tool is when you start a sheet, it is completely blank. And you can set it up. I just set this up to look like a project plan because that's in something easy to drive. But you can set it up so that your columns can contain whatever you want them to. And there's actually column types. So I'll just open this real quick. So these different types, any of these column properties can drive automation. So it might not have to be date bound. It might be whether or not something is done or not done. It might be, anything. Whether the department is a certain thing that's selected from a drop-down box, it can ping somebody based on a task just got assigned to finance. Okay, so it pings finance, whatever. You can run automation off any types of columns. So it doesn't have to be date bound necessarily. Does that help at all?
And Nicole has more familiarity and is talking to this about kind of some of the differences here. Stefana is thinking about, and Nicole, I don't know if you're able to come off of mute and actually just share your thoughts. Sometimes we work in an open environment. So it's really until she does or
Hi Stefana. Yeah, hi everybody. Yeah, no, I think
hi,
I think Stefana, if you're using Trello, you're not going to get that view of the dependencies and the critical path. If there is, I mean, when you're doing Agile, you might not necessarily need that. If you're just following through and with a regular Scrum process and you have a backlog that you're working with your product owner on, then you may just want to put the tasks up by phase, but and use this as a tracking tool. I don't know how much value it would necessarily be for you. It depends on really what you what you need. If you need like a high level estimate of how your sprints are going to look, this could be useful because Trello won't give you that, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the challenge we have with Trello, and that's why I brought it up. I do like being able to see the critical path and understanding, any dependencies. That's the one thing Trello doesn't have, is the dependency tracking.
Right.
Most of the time with Scrum and Agile, you want to bring your tasks down so small that they don't have dependencies in that way. But that's not possible in a lot of work.
Yep, exactly.
It's not realistic. So
exactly. I was going to say
see this view, and I do like to see that it looks like Microsoft Project to me, and that's what I was so used to back in the day. So this is nice to see.
Yeah, I was going to ask Kasey if she could actually show us also the dependencies. And then I know Karen had a question about how you set up a project, the tasks and priorities. But Stefana, let me just put it out there. If you want some, some advice about how to manipulate things so that you can get that type of information, and I say manipulate because these tools don't always give us the information we need. We have to actually like manipulate them to get it. I can work with you separately when we get together.
Yeah, no, that's good to know. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Of course.
Okay, so I think a lot's been said there, but one thing too, Kasey, we're starting kind of after I see you're about to show us critical path, then maybe we take a step back even further and just look at a blank sheet and see, how quickly and easily you created a task and then a subtask and the parent-child relationship and just fill it in. And then we're going to go from all of this level of detail and bring it up to see how easy it is to take this level of detail and come up with executive views and dashboards, which is what I love about this tool. Even, as much as the automation of email reminders helps to really make this self-service, it then also helps with communication and executive views. So a lot to cover.
Sure, yeah. So let me open a new sheet, which is just going into my workspace and doing a new grid. We'll call it new sheet. So like I said, when you open a new sheet, it's completely blank and you can make it whatever you want. One feature of Smartsheet that differs from a standard issue spreadsheet is the primary column. The primary column is where you can build hierarchy in your tasks, in your items, or whatnot. And that hierarchy can then be used to control different things. Other than just collapsing and expanding a list, you can build hierarchy into formulas. Say you only want to run reports on your top line items and leave out the sub items, things of that variety. So task 1. And I apologize because when you're typing on camera, you always type poorly. That is just a rule of thumb.
Don't worry, we won't spell check you.
Okay, perfect. All right. So in terms of creating that hierarchy, it's as easy as creating your elements and then using the indent feature. And if you change your mind, you can unindent. And what that does is, in addition to be able to expand and collapse, this becomes a parent-child relationship, so that elements you put in these child rows is automatically going to roll up to the parent row. So if you have I'll go back to my, whoops, hold on. Let me pull up what I wanted to show you there. That's my metric sheet. There it is. If you have a series of dates, for example, it is going to automatically populate the parent row based on the earliest and latest. Here's a good one down here under prototype. It's going to automatically populate that parent row based on the earliest and the latest date of your subtasks, or anything that's below it for that matter. So that parent-child relationship will also, you can create roll-up formulas. Say you want to know the total of certain department sales. You can put all those roll-up formulas in there using that parent-child relationship. anybody have any questions, or shall I just carry on?
Yeah, I have a quick question. The dependencies, these dependencies, can you show how you would put them in? Are they, do they default to finish start? Can you put in the other ones?
Yep, so you would basically use a predecessor column, which is right here, just noting the line number of the predecessor that you want in there. It defaults finish to start, but if you want to make it differently, you would just denote it here, start, or start, finish.
Okay, so same as Microsoft Project on that with,
Yep.
And it would have a, not that we use it that often, but it would have a finish and a start finish, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay,
And if you
great.
want to create a milestone, it would just be a matter of putting a 0 in your duration column, and that would make a milestone on your.
Okay, so that's pretty standard. That's good.
Yep, it's standard. It's like I don't know the mass history of Smartsheet, but I found it looking for a project management tool, but it's so much more than that. Like if that's just what you're looking for, like it'll do what you're looking for. But if you want a tool to do lots of other things, it can do lots of other things. And I don't want to derail the conversation. So I don't know, Jean, if you want me to kind of go there yet, or.
Well, I think we just carry on. I think you've shown us the kind of automation, the critical path, dependencies, how a sheet is created from blank. So I myself am interested in the reporting and the dashboarding and the forms, all those things outside of the pure project creation.
Okay, great.
So take it away.
Okay, so I started a dashboard, and I actually went to the Smartsheet conference last year, and one of their best practices, I was doing anyway, so I was happy to learn that it was a best practice, is when you're building a dashboard, and a dashboard is essentially a repository for pretty much anything you want to populate it with, and we'll get there in a second, but start by laying out your dashboard first, just with text boxes, and then go back and build it, rather than building a chart and then trying to create a dashboard around it. So I am going to click edit, and I realize this is completely ugly right now, and we will make it prettier in a little bit. The types of things that you can put on a dashboard. So they call them dashboard / portal. I have one that I built for my team that is just really a whole bunch of links to things that they would find useful. It's a portal to all of our in-house materials, our SOPs, our process flows. It has some forms that we use for people to submit their time off requests. Anything really that my team might need. If I come across an interesting article or a web page that I think might be helpful, I'll throw a shortcut on there to that. And it's a one-stop shop for things, so you can use that as almost a home page for your group. I have a couple other teams at WW that use it similarly for that. The beauty of the dashboard is you can publish it, so you can allow access to people, again, outside of Smartsheet. We use this for our global launch. We launched My WW. I built a dashboard for all the international market general managers to be able to see and interact with the data as it was coming in, without having, again, to log into something or go somewhere. They were able to just get that quick answer. The types of things that you can put on a dashboard is a rich text box down here, and that's what I've got on there now. You can put web content on here, and that can be either a form from Smartsheet, or it can be a link to a Vimeo or a YouTube video. It can be a published Google Slides presentation, maybe, that your team might want to look through, something of that variety. You can put images in. That's how I put the logo up here. You can, again, shortcuts, like I said. Reports, another best practice for dashboarding, just to make it run a little better, is you have your background sheets. Instead of pulling data directly from a sheet, it's sometimes better to pull it from a report, because I don't know why, it just makes it think faster. So just run with me on that. The difference between reports in Smartsheet and maybe some other tools is the sheet and the report talk to each other. So if you have a report and you make a change on the report, it actually transfers back to the sheet and vice versa. So they're not static. It's not like you pull a report and it's a one-time thing, and then if your data changes in the background, you're kind of set with this report. It's a live data repository. Charts, same thing, and metrics.
Can we pause on that for a moment, Kasey?
Sure.
I know with a few groups that I'm working with, there's a lot of value to that. So I'm going to give an example and ask you if I'm thinking about this correct. Consumer products.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say they have 10 items that are coming up for launch.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say each of those items has a detailed task sheet. So 10 items, each of them have their own sheet where the status is getting tracked.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe there's 5 milestones, right? You need a purchase order, you need art, you need it to deliver into the warehouse and make up 2 others. If we have those 5 milestones for those 10 in one report, we can then create from that report widgets that just show overall status, where the alerts are. Is that how these dashboards really get to show to more senior management the overall status of the health of that department plus the health of each individual launch?
Absolutely, absolutely. So in reports, and I'll pull up the reporting tool, you can pull in data from multiple sheets. So in your example, each project team has its own sheet. You would pull in in the where section, you would pull in all of the sheets that apply to your team. For our purposes, I'm going to just pull in ours because that's what I've got. You can also use reporting to report against a who. So you have certain, one of my teammates is doing a large project across many work streams. So she did reports based on who the work stream owner was, so that they only need to see what they're responsible for, because they don't need to know what everybody and their brother is doing. They just need to know what they need to deliver on. So you can use that who column. For our purposes of this report, I'm just going to skip that. What? So you can report across any of the columns in your sheets. So, for example, you only want to report on items that are not completed, because if they're already completed, we don't care. They're okay. So we're going to say completed is not checked. And in that case, our report's only going to pull those ones that are still left to be completed. You can use multiple things in there. So I might want to say, let's see, and this is where our hierarchy that I referenced, hierarchy is equal to, let's see, 1. Make sure I set my sheet up right. Get the zoom bar out of the way. Hold on 1 second. There we go. And then,
meaning hierarchy 1 means the parent level. So none of the subtasks would need to be included? Okay.
So the top is 0. So the way I set my sheet up, and I can actually go back and show you, I hid the hierarchy column. There it is. So the top level, I made my sheet, and again, this is just how I made this one, that I wanted it all to roll up to the overall duration for this one product. That's just how I chose to do it. You don't necessarily have to do it that way. So that's hierarchy 0. Everything 1 space in from that is number 1, 2, 2. And this auto-populates based on how you are moving your sheet around. Okay. Okay. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. And I get back to my report. Okay, so I want to see hierarchy is equal to 1. So I want to see everything that is the mid-level tasks for someone here, the main elements of our project. And another cool feature is this when column. We're not going to use it for this, but if you have a Smartsheet that pulls rolling data, for example, our call center at WW uses Smartsheet for their reporting. And so they have daily data coming in, obviously, number of customer calls, the time to report against. You can use this when column to make them like a rolling average. So it's always going to be due date is in the last 30 days. That would be, give you 30 days worth of data today. Tomorrow it's going to be the next 30 days. So it's a neat way to do a rolling report if you have, you know, constant data coming in. But we're not going to use that for now because we don't need that. And then I'm going to hit run. So I found us 3 columns. We go back here and see we have 3 things that are undone: the sourcing, the building of the product, and the distribution. So there's that. If we want it to look a little different, we can change what columns. I want to know who's responsible for them. I want to know how long they're going to take. I don't need the sheet name because I know what the sheet name is, so let's get rid of that. And I want to know what the start date is. Oh, no, I want to know what the % complete is too. All right. I don't want to know the completed. I don't want to know the hierarchy. Again, you can move these around. You can make them look how you want. I'm going to tighten that up a little bit. And so there's a report for us, and I'm going to name it. Okay. So there is our report. So here I am going to go back, and I apologize, I have to refresh. I will say, because these are multiple windows, just make sure you refresh every once in a while. If you go to grab something and you're like, wait a minute, why is it not showing up? Probably just because you need to refresh something. I am going to pull in my report now. And there it is, my Globe Court report. And there it is. So either I can leave the Gantt in there if you like the looks of it. If you don't, you can get rid of it, however you want it to look. You can keep the source formatting, or you can get rid of it in your master sheet. If you had, you know, some sort of conditional formatting where the colors changed, you can leave that or take it out, whichever you want to do. And I want to put a title in, and I want to say outstanding. And I want to make that look a little bit prettier, just for fun, because you can. Boop, done. There we go. And it's that easy. And then you can just move things around. And so up here, I'd set a placeholder up for my report widget. Now I want to get rid of it. And now I've built my report. There I am.
And again, back to that example of consumer products, if there's 10 launches, those are the outstanding tasks for all 10 sheets.
Correct.
Right?
Yep. It pulls
so
the data.
It's nice to have one at a glance.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Or maybe it's key activities for this week, and it's just one place where you go. And the other thing you mentioned earlier that sounds very powerful is, in a report, you have the ability to make changes into the original source sheet. So if I want to go in here and I see this and I change the date to next week, it actually goes back into the sheet that's the project plan and changes that date.
Correct. I'm going to, so we just found out that we don't need to distribute this until April. Whoop. Why is it not letting me? Okay, I don't know why it's not letting me, but yes, you can edit it in the report. I don't know what it's doing right now. Again, I just put a sample here. We don't necessarily need to make all those. Well, we can make one relatively quick if you want. I want to pull in a key metric. Another neat thing that Smartsheet actually just added a little while ago was this sheet summary data. And I will show you what that is. So this is a metrics widget, and it gives you just a quick snapshot, so it doesn't quite show up like a report. I kind of like the middle one. Let's call it that. We can change, again, you can toggle these around, change the colors, change the titles, whatever. I want this to be in my Globe Core orange. Done, great. And there's the project health. So then I can zap this placeholder that I had, put my new one there, and that's that. And to show you where that data is coming from, and again, this is a newer thing with Smartsheet, is over here on the right-hand menu bar, you have Summary. And this is a place for you to enter fields that are either pulling from your sheet itself. Like for example, this one I have I'm pulling from the top line, or this one I just created a drop down so that I can go in as the overall project manager and say, oh, okay, I think I want to make this one a yellow, whatever. And then it doesn't change anything on the sheet. It just gives you a way to pull data from the sheet without having it affect the underlying sheet.
So if you're running an overall portfolio and the project managers are responsible to do a weekly update, they could change the color of the health and maybe make a statement in there towards it, and that's what could be visible on a dashboard.
Correct. Yep. Yep.
Kay, a quick question. And this dashboard, once you create it, and as you update the sheets, it's automatically updated, so it's a live dynamic document.
Absolutely. Yep. It is live. Yep. One tip and trick that I will share with everybody, and I have it in the tips and tricks. When you get done making your sheet, I recommend going in here while you're working on it, leave the background gray, but once you get done, in edit mode, click on this little wheel and change the background to white. And then it just doesn't look as weird with the gray. Okay. So just one of those things.
And it also has, just like Excel charts, you can create any sort of widget.
Correct, yeah.
Basically depending on how the underlying data is structured.
Correct, yep. Let's see if I have any data in here that'll let me, oh, I did a metric sheet. Oh, there we go. Yep. There we go. So you want to look at everything that our folks are working on. There we go. That's what everybody's doing.
So depending on how you set up your sheets, you combine them into a dashboard, and then the visualizations are basically limitless.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. I have a, sorry, Jean, go ahead.
Does anybody have any other questions related to what we've covered so far? Sheets, reports, dashboards? Do dashboards get sent via email? Okay, so let's talk about kind of those communications out at this executive level.
Sure. So there are a few different ways to share a dashboard. So this publish link is what allows you to it's a very secure environment. So either it can live within Smartsheet and somebody has to be logged in as a user and able to see it if it's something you want to control the access to at that level. Or you can say get link. So available to anyone with a link externally or available users in your account. And then you can publish it, and basically you can either just send them the link or you can embed it, for example, in a Google site. You can embed the dashboard there, or you can send it as a link. Just to give you an idea really quick, and this mirrors a dashboard that I'd created for my team to do portfolio management. Again, I referenced the team resource page up here in the corner. This is current projects, pending approval, our pipeline. This pipeline is fed by a form, and then a form would pop this in here, and then I could act on it, and there's actually an approval workflow that goes with that in order for somebody to submit a project for the team. And then just to give you an idea of some of the other cool stuff it can do. So this is a scorecard. These are all driven by different things. So these top two are driven by a web form that you can send out to your customers, to your team members, whatever. And as the responses come in, there's formulas and stuff behind this that make them into a cool metrics sheet, and then it can drive a chart. These are some KPIs, and they're driven by a series of things that for my team, I had built them into we had a closure audit process to make sure that when everybody finishes a project, they do the appropriate closeout routine. And that would be something that was all triggered by just how they interact with the sheet. And so really once I set it up, I didn't need to do anything to it. It was kind of measuring them through their process. Again, here's some more chart ideas, and how much time your PMs or whoever, whatever, number of projects by department, pie chart, what phase your projects are in. And this is all driven by the sheet that's referenced up to the top here.
Great. And Kasey, you showed us how to publish this. And Karen is asking if there's a way to automate the publishing. So let's say everybody in the sheets are created. The automation says that every Wednesday they get a reminder to update the status by Thursday. Then on Friday, there's a set group of folks that you want to publish this dashboard to. Can that be done automatically?
So the dashboard is live. So there's nothing to publish regularly. Like once it's published until you turn it off. So it's live, and as people submit data, it's going to automatically update. If you wanted to trigger some sort of reminder, like, hey, go look at the dashboard, then you could set up an automation with the link in it.
Okay. Karen, does that answer your question? All right, she says got it.
Yes, it does.
So
yeah.
communication can be a reminder.
Yeah. Great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yeah. The other thing I'd like to make sure we cover, Kasey, because with Karen talking, it's really making me think about forms and, starting a sheet when you're the project manager, there's already kind of this stage gate. We have a project, so you know to go and define the task. But when you're managing a lot of inbound across your global team, and people are sending you requests via email, and those requests are, hey, we need to implement a new channel, or hey, I need a response to this, or I have a bug here, or I need a new user set up here. Email, Slack is not the way to manage inbound.
Right.
So I think that would lead us to forms.
Okay. So for forms, super easy. You would create a new form, and you can do this within any sheet, and it brings you up a form builder. You can call it what you want. You can tell it, so obviously I don't want people to interact with hierarchy because that's one of my background columns, so I'm going to zap that. Say this is somebody, because we're going to have to just repurpose this. So this is, they have a new request, so they can add that in there. Maybe you don't want them to do that. You want them to tell you when it's supposed to start and when it's supposed to be due. You don't want them to tell you if it's completed because it obviously isn't, so we can get rid of those columns. You want to tell them we can get rid of duration. We're not going to need that. Let's add, let's see, please submit requests here. For project, you can add in some help desk. Please be sure to whatever. If you don't want what the user sees to be your column label, because maybe you're it just doesn't make sense. What are you looking to accomplish? It can be single text or multi-line text. Maybe we wanted to write a little bit more. We can do it required or not. Enter here for whatever reason you wanted to do that. If you wanted to add a field, say you created your sheet, now you're going to do a form and you're like, oh, I wish I had a place for somebody to choose their department. Okay. What that is going to do is that's going to then automatically add one to your underlying sheet, and it's going to allow you to drop that up here so then they can choose their department. You can customize, again, going back to the customization piece and making it a little bit more user-friendly, you can customize what they get as a response. You can customize whether or not they get a copy of the email, and then it would just automatically plop onto the bottom or top of your sheet, whichever you want. Typically, I have them go to the bottom. There are different styles. Modern is the new one. Because we have a Smartsheet account, we can get rid of the Powered by Smartsheets logo. Not everybody can, but and then save and preview. And there's your form.
Super easy.
Yep.
Is there an ability to add an attachment?
Yep. Okay. Get out of there. Yep.
Great.
Field, file. They can even upload files. Yep, right here.
File upload. Okay.
Yep. And there you go. And that's your form. If you want to go back in and edit it, you can always go in and edit it. You can toggle it on and off. Maybe you don't want to use it right now, but you don't want to zap it entirely. You can deactivate it so that it's not running right now. And there is your URL. What you can do is, I'll go back to my dashboard real quick. And you can actually put that right on a dashboard. Oops, I forgot to copy it. And there you go. There's your form right on your dashboard, so you can have it somewhere.
So really your one-stop center of excellence.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Terrific.
So very quickly, I just want to go back because I had a couple of things I want to get through real quick. I started completely from scratch, and 99% of what I learned was just by playing with it. The help.smartsheet.com is phenomenal. You can find either direct answers through their help center or through the community aspect, because if you're trying to do it, 99% sure somebody else has tried to do it already. The different user types are free collaborator or licensed user. So like I said, you can be a licensed user. That allows you to create sheets. Free collaborators allow you to interact with sheets within your organization and don't have a cost, hence the name free. Or you can actually, people can interact with the forms, update requests, things of that variety without having a Smartsheet account at all. The basics, again, dashboards, portals, reports, and sheets. And that can be a grid, a Gantt, cards, which I didn't show you, and the calendar functionality, which I didn't go through either, but it can do a lot. I just built a tool for my team to track their out of office and PTO time. It interacts with some background sheets that they can log their own PTO, and it speaks right to our Google calendars so that we can see everybody's timeout overlaid with our own. So it's kind of a neat functionality there.
Stefana, those cards would look like Trello. That would be your Kanban board.
Yeah, I'm kind of like embedded in Kanban right now. I was just commenting in the chat and saying that it really does look like a great option for Long Island Women in Tech, because a lot of our projects are waterfall-esque, right? And we have tasks that have to happen week by week, and they're mostly because they're event management, and an event is the end launch of the activity. So maybe we'll try it out. Jean, what do you think?
Yeah, I have a lot of areas I'd like to start building this for. I feel like once you put in the effort of doing the development and the learning, then it's so much less effort during the life cycle of the project or initiative because of the degree of self-service and automation and communication that it provides that frankly, you know, right now is a struggle for me.
Yeah.
I agree with you there, especially on the nonprofit work that I do outside of regular work, right? So, Kasey, you should get commission. I'm just saying.
I appreciate that. When somebody, the last time I was in the office, just to let you know, Jean, somebody saw me in the hall and say, "Hey, I have this idea. Can you build a thing?" And my response was, "I'll figure it out." And I built a thing, and we've deployed it in the field, and it's being used nationwide by our studio team members now to save them time and our members time. So it's not just for project management. Like if you want to build something, right, you can probably build it.
It's true workflow.
Yep.
Anybody else have any questions? Well, Kasey, thank you so much. I really, on behalf of everyone who attended today, I think it was a great learning experience, and I really appreciate you giving us your time like that.
Absolutely.
Thank you, and Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Hi, thank you.